Okay, it says
Holy
preparing.
doggone. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
It says it's almost ready. Now it's live.
Okay, so we're streaming live to YouTube. We're going to open up the waiting room, let folks in. Other staff not needed can leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Do you want me to click accept as the guests?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Mhm.
All set. Everybody is in.
Thank you. Everyone's in. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for your patience as we worked out a few technical difficulties. I just want to say we are live streamed to YouTube now, and I want to say a good morning and welcome to the quarterly Hard of Hearing Task Force meeting. My name is Christy Abrams, and I am the Hard of Hearing Specialist with ACDHH, and our meetings are fully accessible. We have ASL interpreters and a highly trained communication access real-time translation captionist with us today. It's always our goal to make sure that everything is accessible to our communities that we serve. And we also now, as I mentioned, are live streamed to YouTube for our quarterly meetings. Towards the end of the meeting, we will have an item on our agenda for comments or announcements or questions because the meeting is open to the public. And I just want to say, wow, Michelle let me know last night that Michelle Michaels, our hearing healthcare program manager, let me know that we are celebrating 15 years for the Hard of Hearing Task Force. I didn't realize that. And it began in August 28th, actually, and back in 2007, the year my daughter was born. So that's amazing. But I just want to welcome everybody, and I'm so happy to see you all. And it's exciting to have you all with us. We actually have 2 new team members with us this morning, and we always love to invite our new team members and give them an opportunity to say good morning and just tell us a little bit about their background and their new position here with the commission. So I'm going to let Ricky start off this morning. Ricky, please let us know your name and a little bit on your background and your new role here at the commission.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Yes. Hi. Yes, my name is Ricky. I am the new technician support for ACDHH. I used to work for DES. I was over there for a little bit more than 10 years. I should also mention that I graduated from ASU with my Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science. I'm very excited to join the commission. So it's a great opportunity for me, and I'm very happy to be here.
Well, great, Ricky. We're super happy to have you with us, and I know that you'll be able to help us with all of our technical difficulties, and you helped us out this morning, and we appreciate you, and thanks for popping on this morning. All right, and I'm going to turn it. Thank you, Ricky. I'm going to let Amory go next, please. Welcome, Amory. Let you tell us a little bit of the same.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amory Goodell, and I am the new Communication Access Specialist. So part of this role is being able to be a part of the live.
I'm going to stop you just for 1 second. Michelle has her hand up.
Okay, there's a really bad echo. And I think that's because both of you are next door to each other.
Okay.
At the office. So.
And even when I mute.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I could try to mute again, or I don't know if it will work or not.
Yeah. And we'll just, our IT guy, Ricky, is on here. So I know Ricky's making a note. Okay, let's see how we can fix that for the
And,
future.
Do you have any other, like a headset on, Amory, or are you just on computer microphone?
I can maybe move to a different room. Maybe that will help.
We could try that. Yeah. Okay. And while Amory's doing that, give her a minute to go to another location, and she'll just set up and then she can introduce herself. But in the meantime, I think we could, while she's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and ask if everyone's had a chance to review our minutes from our May meeting. I sent those out and hope you all had a chance to review those from our last meeting. And if anyone has any comments on that or corrections, please let me know. Okay, and if there are no corrections or comments, if anyone would like to make, oh, Ron has his hand up. Good morning, Ron. Oh, and you're muted. If you could unmute. Did you have a comment, Ron? You're trying to unmute. Your microphone still shows as. There we
Okay,
go.
could you please let Roz in? Okay, got it. All right, on page 3, last or third sentence from the bottom, it should read, "We will bring back the bounce house," rather than "the will." Then page 4, just a clarification. This year, this is 3 paragraphs down. This year, we start the walk with over 20,000.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for those revisions, Ron. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add as far as comments or revisions or corrections for our last meeting minutes? No? Okay. And would anybody like to make a motion to, with those corrections noted, to approve? Barry has his hand up for the first to approve. Okay. And anyone for a second? Roz has her hand up. Okay, thank you. So Barry first and Roz second. Okay, and with that, and Amory might be having some technical difficulties. I know she'll join us when we can, but I just wanted to note who is with us this morning also, just to make sure that we have a roll call here. And I welcome Fred Williams, Commissioner Fred Williams, welcome. Ron Tallman, welcome. Commissioner Melanie O'Rourke, welcome. Barry Force, welcome. Cynthia Ummerman, welcome. And Roz, thank you so much. I'm glad you were able to get in. Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, that's great. I'm happy to see everyone. Does anybody have any questions so far? Is everybody able to have captions okay and hear me clearly? Okay, great. Well, I am going to go ahead and right now, the next item, Amory will join us when she can, and we've approved our minutes. And so I'd like to go next to Becca. Becca is our community engagement liaison. She's going to share her report and a little bit on also for speaking for Nikki too. Becca, are you able to turn on your camera there? There we go. Good morning, Becca. Thank you for joining us today. I'll turn it over to you.
In just 1 second, the interpreter just needs to enlarge the screen. 1 second, sorry. Okay, thank you. Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy rainy Friday. I don't know where you're located, but man, it's pouring in my area. I like it. That's good. So anyway, I will do Nikki's report for our unit for the Public Policy and Community Relations unit. So I will go over a few things. If you have any questions, and if I don't have the information ready, please feel free to go ahead and talk to maybe Melanie, Christy, or directly contact Nikki. Okay. So I do have a few things to share with you. Let me get her report out. Well, first of all, she's very excited to finally have moved and relocated here to Arizona. She just moved. She's getting used to it and settling in. It's kind of a crazy move for her. So she's officially an Arizona resident. She's very excited about this move. She's also excited about knowing that this is a good year to get our asks and get the funding for the multiple asks that we had. We have 4 new positions that were approved. The 4 will be full-time family engagement coordinator. Right now we have a part-time family engagement coordinator. You know, Sonia, I believe she was introduced to you in a previous task force meeting. So she's part-time. We're now looking for a full-time coordinator. The second position is under FSU financial unit. It's the Business Operations Accountant Specialist. We also have interpreter development specialist. I believe they're going to be starting soon. I'm not 100% sure. We are growing so fast, it's hard to keep up. It's been a very exciting time for us. But gosh, poor IT going through all this crazy time, all the transitioning we're going through, people leaving, people coming. It's exciting changes though. The 4th position, actually, I don't know if I already mentioned this, the communication media specialist. We currently have someone working on contract to do that job, but I believe this is a full-time position as well. So we have 4 positions open, which obviously means we're growing. We also got funding. Sherry asked for one-time funding for an aging project. And we're getting that. And what else? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. So we got funding for the aging project. And I believe Michelle could help me with this information. I believe the money is going to be used for 2 things. The first one is related to direct sign language ASL caregiving, but then also a one-time study to be done with the aging population in Arizona. So that's on Sherry Collins' radar, and that will be something ongoing. And I believe Michelle has been delegated or chosen to be the lead on that project. So that's another exciting opportunity. I'm not sure if Michelle would like to share more information about that, or is that enough said? Is that all the information we have at this point, or is there more to share? Michelle?
And you got it correct there, Becca. That's exactly, we're very concerned from an agency standpoint about the needs of our deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind seniors, older adults, and you know, just how they're doing in the world, you know, what's happening with the skilled nursing facilities, you know, placement with at-home care, access to ASL interpreters, et cetera. So we did get, we had some extra money available in our budget, which we asked to use specifically for seniors. And so the first thing is just we're going to have a really high-level survey. So it's not just kind of a fill out a Google form. So we're going to contract out for that to get a really good needs analysis statewide of what our seniors need. And then that data will really inform us and help us to share that information with our partners like the Department of Health Services and Department of Economic Security, et cetera. So that's one of the areas that we're going to be focusing on. as well as helping train caregivers and people like community health workers and things who maybe know some sign language or want to learn some sign language, or deaf people who obviously already know sign language. If they want to get into that direct care worker marketplace, help them do that so that they're qualified to assist our deaf seniors in these types of facilities and at home with in-home care.
Right, great. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you sharing that additional information. I knew you'd have a little bit more than what I was able to share, but we're very excited about where this is going to lead us in the future. Let's see. Next on her report, I'm just trying to read ahead 1 second. Okay, related to the bill that was just passed, Senate Bill 11651. That was related to access, and the annual report focused on people with disabilities. It seems that access, Arizona Healthcare Containment System, is focusing on the expenditures for people with mental health illness, but that's also looking at both Medicaid and non-Medicaid situations. Sorry, the print is so small, I'm having a hard time reading it. Oh, it's also related to behavioral health expenditures for both Medicaid and non-Medicaid. There'll be including nonprofits and people living with severe mental illness. So I guess we're going to be monitoring how this is going to be impacting people who are deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind. And Access is going to be developing a methodology for tracking accommodations that are requested and provided for people with disabilities that also have an SMI, severe mental illness. And also they'll be tracking any complaints that go along with those accommodations for those services. We've always had ongoing issues within the health field, specifically access. So this is exciting that we're finally, at the table, so to speak. Our voice is going to be heard. And I know Sherry Collins has not been given up on this. She's fought very hard for this. So we are continuing to work on that and look forward to where that is going to give us, where it's going to lead us. We've also submitted a motion to register with other health care. A lot of people are not going to doctors and remote healthcare. So we want to make sure we have access to individuals needing remote health access. Okay. And actually, Michelle might be able to help me with this part as well. Nikki mentioned the loop meeting with Representative Lesko. Do you have anything you want to share regarding that meeting? I'm not privy to all the details, so maybe you could share more.
Sure. So back to the thing that you just mentioned. What did you just mention right before this? Let me look at my it popped up in my head. Oh, access. Yes. Yeah, we have been very involved with looking at the needs of people who are on access and who have SMI, serious mental illness, behavioral health issues. And what happens a lot of times is that our consumers will reach out to us and say, hey, I've got this situation. And so that really makes us aware of an issue. And so once we see one or two people saying, I've got an issue here, I've got a problem there, I can't get an interpreter, I can't get cart captioning, we start looking at that like, is this a systemic issue or is this just a one-off? And so that's what really helps us is when consumers reach out to us. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. Like I know for sure we had some issues down in Tucson with both deaf and hard of hearing getting communication access in facilities and at mandated court ordered types of things and stuff like that. So we're looking at that. And then so this most recent thing that Becca just mentioned. So we have a wonderful, wonderful member of our hard of hearing community. His name is Ron Moe, and the last name is M-O-E. And Ron lives on the west side of the valley, and he's a very, very big advocate for looping, which is something that ACDHH strongly supports as well. And Ron, his representative in the U.S. Congress is Representative Lesko, Lesko. And so he was able to get a meeting with one of her staff, and our Director of Public Policy, Nikki, and myself, and a couple other folks. And so we had a really great meeting just to let the representative know via her staff the issues that affect hard of hearing people and communication access in large areas like performance spaces and things. And so we're looking at, hopefully Representative Lesko being able to share information or just be aware of the issue that we really want to have increased access to communication when we're out and about in the world. And so that was a really, really positive meeting. And thanks again to, ACDHH. We've been a small agency for a long time. We are growing, but with over 1 million people in Arizona who are deaf or hard of hearing, we really look to our consumers, the folks like you all here on the task force, and just to really be involved and let us know what's happening, and we'll see what we can do from the state agency standpoint. So yeah, that was a really good meeting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing that information. That's really exciting. Wow, happy it went so well. Now, on the topic of looping, we can talk a little bit about Ballet Arizona. Michelle, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, that's another thing that we've been doing. So Ballet Arizona actually approached me a couple years ago and said, hey, we want to loop our small theater. Ballet Arizona has performances in the large places like Symphony Hall and other places, but they also have a smaller 300-seat theater in their facility, and they wanted to loop it. So they were looking for funding. And so I suggested that they apply to the Arizona Community Foundation, which has a deaf and hard of hearing grant. And so they did, and they were awarded money for looping. And so they contracted with one of the premier loop installers here in our state, and that's a company called Otojoy, Otojoy. And Otojoy has looped the smaller theater, the 300-seat theater. It's called the Dorrance, D-O-R-R-A-N-C-E, Dorrance Theater. And so that's just been, just happened. And so inductive looping, for anybody might be watching on YouTube now or later. So what is looping? Well, inductive looping, what we're talking about right now is a wire that goes around a room and drops in and ties into the microphone system, the PA system. And so people like me, Chrissy, most of us here on the call, we walk into a facility that has a loop, and we just simply press a button on our hearing aids or our cochlear implant, and we hear everything that's being said through the microphone as if the person were sitting right next to us speaking to us. So it's wonderful access, communication access. So Ballet Arizona has looped their small theater, and we're going to be having a special event towards the end of October with Ballet Arizona and the small theater, where we're going to be celebrating looping. And so I'm going to be asking each of you, do you want to see a little mini performance of Cinderella and kind of talking with the dancers and what all goes on to create an event like that? How do you get on stage? How do you know what to do? All those kinds of questions. So that's going to be happening in October. So I will be reaching out to you to say, would you like to go? Because we do have a limited number of free tickets, courtesy of Ballet Arizona, for people who want to try the loop and celebrate the looping. And of course, since this is an ACDHH event, we are also going to have sign language interpreters and cart captioning. And we actually have some deafblind people who are going to come. So we will be providing them with tactile sign language because yes, you might be deaf or blind, but that doesn't mean you you don't enjoy the ballet. So we're really excited about these partnerships with places like Arizona Ballet, and we're excited about the event that's going to be happening in October. So you will hear more about that from me soon.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle. And as you were talking, it made me think back to really my first time attending a ballet performance. And it was in ASL. They had deaf performers. It was a Peter Pan performance. I remember just sitting there, seeing the deaf performers signing and dancing. And then afterward, we were invited to their, I guess, after party or after show where all the dancers were hanging out and talking. It was a really neat experience for me. So I'm excited that that's coming up. I might be there for that performance, Michelle. All right, let me see if there's anything else I need to mention on the report. Just a couple more things. SB 1092, which is related to the Language Acquisition Task Force that we have. The Language Task Force completed their work in June. We had different partnering organizations and agencies focusing on the gaps for language acquisition when it comes to deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind children in the state of Arizona. We have our final report that has been completed by our consultant. It's only available in English at this point. We are waiting for the American Sign Language and Spanish versions before we post those to the website. So stay tuned for more information on what our asks will be and our recommendations will be to the legislature. That was a big project that we have been working on for the past year that we completed in June. I also am excited to announce that we're partnering again with the Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Committee to provide an accessible ASL and captioned version of their voter education guide, or VEG. They generally mail the guide out to registered voters before an election. You should have received one for the primary, and due to some issues, we didn't get it out until right before the primary. We did get the ASL version out, but we learned our lesson that we need to start earlier for the general election. So we're going to be starting our filming soon for the ASL version of the voter education guide. If you feel that you need something accessible in ASL or captioning, this is a great resource for you to check out. I recommend that you check our website in a couple of weeks to see the ASL version. That's it for my report, Michelle. Any questions or comments?
Thank you so much,
right.
Becca. That's exciting. It's exciting things coming up, and I don't know, we're everywhere. So, you know, it's really, I appreciate all that information. Thank you for joining us, Becca, and sharing that. I saw
Sure.
Amory back.
And happy to be here. And I'll be staying for the remainder of the meeting, but I'm going to have my camera off. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Don't see Amory on right at the moment, but I'll keep my, oh, you are, Amory, you're here.
I'm here.
Turn it over to you. Welcome. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm definitely happy to be able to join you this morning. So my new role is Communication Access Specialist, and so I'm part of the licensure department. And so my main job responsibility is receiving the interpreting applications. Just a little bit about me. I used to work for the Elite Vocational and Tutoring Services as a provider for the deaf and hard of hearing, as well as I was an educational interpreter for a high school district. But I'm very excited for this new learning opportunity and to be able to join the ACVH team.
Thank you. I mean, we're really excited you're here too, and I'm excited to have you as my neighbor. And welcome, and thanks for taking time. You're welcome to stay for the meeting or pop off if you have other work, because I know how busy you are learning all about your new role. So thanks so much for being here. All right, so our next item on the agenda that would be me. And I just want to share a little bit because I know I'm being mindful of our time together. I know we have a lot of great things to cover. It has been so busy. I thought, I'm curious. I wonder how many contacts I've had since our last meeting, because certainly emails and phone calls have been flying, and I've had more than 530 contacts. So it is busy, and I'm so excited that people, are realizing that we're here and reaching out to us when they need assistance or help. One of the main parts of my role here, as you all know, is our Hearing Healthcare Assistance Project that we have in partnership with the ASU Speech and Hearing Clinic. And we assist low-income adults who need hearing healthcare, but they can't afford it. So certainly people reach out to me. I gather a lot of information, because everybody's unique. Sometimes people have insurance and don't realize it. So I kind of really get to know somebody a little bit and find out if they're a good fit. And if they are, I'm lucky enough to refer them to ASU. And currently we've referred 39 folks to our program there. If someone doesn't fit for this particular project, I have a lot of other great resources. So please feel free to send anybody my way, even if you're not sure if it'll work. I can always find something, and I like to connect them to all different resources that we have available to them. A lot of times when people first navigating hearing loss, they don't realize all the support that's available. And here in Arizona, we're so fortunate to have our Hearing Loss Association of America support groups, our HOPE support group too, which is on Zoom with captioning, which is hearing other people's experiences. And Ron heads up that, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that. But I just connect everyone to any resources that might be helpful. I want to just tell you a little bit about what we've been doing. We've been very busy. Vicki and I, as part of that program, we visited several low-income housing sites, St. Mary's Manor and St. John's Manor, with senior living. As Michelle shared, we're really thinking about our seniors and wanting to make sure that they are aware of our programs and how we can support them. And so Vicki and I did a presentation. She told them about our phone program, which is the Arizona Telecommunication Equipment Distribution Program, which is a free program. No matter regardless of income, we provide amplified telephones and alerting and flashing devices. So many of them were excited to hear about that, and excited to hear about our Hearing Healthcare Assistance Project as well. So Kim Menard, who is our deaf specialist, and myself are always busy with our CARE presentation. And CARE stands for, and we have, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but we have a really cool logo. I love our logo. And CARE stands for Communication Access Resources for Empowerment. And that is what we call our training that we provide primarily to healthcare professionals. So we are busy and really wanting to get the word out there, make a ripple effect. We recently drove down to Tucson and had a presentation with the Pima nursing students. So it's exciting to begin to be back in person and being in a real classroom or being present with people. Just yesterday, we were with the Southwest Behavioral Health Services group. We had a great group of folks there. Gave them our training, and we're going to be heading up to Flagstaff and Prescott Valley to do our training too, because we cover the whole state. So we really are everywhere. We did a training with the ASU audiology students, so that was really fun. We also had a training with the Arizona Center for Disability Law for the new lawyers coming on board, just to give them information about our communities that we serve and what we do here at the commission. So that was great. I had a wonderful visit out in Sun City West with the United Methodist Church Shepherd of the Hills. So I'm happy to go to, that's a great setting for me to visit and bring a presentation to. We had a nice group of folks and told them again about our services, and that was great. Let's see, I wanted to share one other thing that we did that was really interesting and fun. Kim and I participated with DES, or the Department of Economic Security. They had a I have to think about how to pronounce this with my hearing loss, but it's repatriation exercise. It's a full-scale exercise, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying that exactly right. But anyway, this is something that the government does to help American citizens who are visiting or living abroad. And if they quickly have to return safely back to the United States, if there's an emergency, they set up a practice ahead of time. So we know, how do we help those people re-enter the country? And so Kim and I were able to participate and as a deaf person and a hard of hearing person, and what needs to happen so that we have communication access. And so that was really enlightening, I think, for them. A lot of times when you're having grand scale exercises like this, you may not always think about communication access. So it's a privilege to participate in that. This was at the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. We had charter buses back and forth to the Department of Economic Security, and we were actors and acted as if this was happening. So they really thanked us, and there were quite a few things that they thought that they could maybe do better. So just as far as communication strategies and all of that. So it was really fun to participate in that. I wanted to also mention, just in closing, that Becca, our community engagement liaison that you just heard from, she and I had a table for ACDHH for the 4th annual World Elder Abuse Conference in June. So that was wonderful. That was put on by the Department of Aging and Adult Services. This brings together organizations and professionals all across the board, just to discuss ways in which we can all better serve our elders. And of course, we want to protect our elders and look at how we can continue to help them age with dignity. And I think communication access is a huge part of that. So I was thrilled to be there, and we are fortunate enough to attend several sessions and just let them know about the statistics. Oftentimes people have no idea that there's more than 1 million people in Arizona who are hard of hearing, and what that means. A lot of folks have never heard of CART captioning. They may be more familiar with interpreting for people that are deaf, but they don't realize, how do we help someone that's hard of hearing have access to information? So whenever we can get out there and bring information, we're excited to do that. That's what we're here for. And it's just been really busy, and love being in my position. And I know so happy to have all of you here helping me do that. And I'm going to, keeping an eye on the clock, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle because she has a lot of exciting things to talk about.
Thank you, Christy. Wow, yes, you have been busy. We've got so much going on. So let me look at my list here of things. Yes, I did want to say congratulations to the Hard of Hearing Task Force for 15 years. This we started in August of 2007, and we've been going strong ever since. Why should we stop a good thing, right? And we started in 2007 because that's when the law was passed that requires audiologists and hearing aid dispensers to inform people about the telecoil, which the telecoil is a small little device in the hearing aid that helps people access neck loops, room loops, countertop loops. And so there was the law that was passed that said, you all got to do this. And so the Hard of Hearing Task Force was formed to create some materials to educate consumers and professionals about that. And we just kept going from there. And we've developed all kinds of cool things. Like, I think I have one in my drawer here. Oh yeah, our button. We made our button. Can you see that? It says, "Please face me and speak slowly." We have these wonderful buttons that we provide free of charge. We have our little wallet cards, our visor cards. Those are all things that this Hard of Hearing Task Force have developed, materials for our consumers. So we love the task force, and we're so glad that you're all here with us today. So 15 years, all right. And that's actually how long I've been with the agency. I started here in April of 2007. So y'all have been around as long as me. Okay, gosh, over-the-counter hearing aids. So you all have probably heard that the rules were finally released. The final rules were released the other day by the FDA. So that's actually going to be an agenda item. So we're going to talk about that more in just a minute. But regarding that issue, yesterday morning, I did record an interview with KJZZ, which is our local NPR station, as well as KTAR, which is our local news talk radio station. So I've got 2 interviews recorded with them. And of course, they'll take that audio and edit it into a story. Not sure when those stories will come out, but KTAR says Monday morning. And so I was asked to, of course, comment on over-the-counter hearing aids and all of that. So you'll be interested, Ron, to know that with KTAR, she and I had a great chat, 16 minutes, not going to all make it to air, but I did mention the Walk for Hearing. So she was interested in that. So I'm going to put you in contact with the KTAR journalist. So maybe we can get a little more promotion for your event. That would be great. So that happened. Let's see, what else? So we do have our Hearing Healthcare Assistance Project, HHAP, which Christy works in. And that's our partnership with ASU to help people access hearing healthcare. We don't call it a hearing aid project because, as we know, those of us who have hearing loss, it's not just about the ear. Yes, the hearing aid is a component of what we need, but we need hearing healthcare. We need access to audiologists and hearing aid dispensers to get a good hearing test. We need oral rehabilitation after we receive our devices to learn how to use the devices better, how to communicate, our ADA rights, all of that kind of stuff. So the oral rehabilitation teaches us how to listen and communicate better. So a lot of great skills there. So that's all a component of what we do with ASU. And we are planning for this project to expand statewide up to Flagstaff and down to Tucson in the next year and next year or two for further expansion. So we're going to be growing this. This is for low-income folks who cannot afford access to hearing health care. And it is, again, like Christy said, she's had in fiscal year 2022, over 200 people reached out to Christy asking for hearing aids. And she assists every person with all of their needs. And we get them referred to all the resources that are out there. And sometimes it's our little project. Sometimes it's something like the VA or Voca Rehab, or they discover they do have a Medicare Advantage plan and they can get hearing aids that way. So there's a lot of things that we get them in touch with. And of course, we always tell them about the HLAA groups and the support groups that are out there. So they get that connection so they don't feel so isolated. So that's a busy thing that Christy is involved with. Let's see here. What else has happened? One of the things that we're doing that relates to hard of hearing people is, as you may know, ACDHH, we have a program called our free phone program, AZTEDP. And that's one of the programs that I manage as the Hard of Hearing Healthcare Program Manager. And so one of the things that I'm doing is actually surveying all of the other states who have these equipment distribution programs to see what devices are on their programs and what might be helpful to people here in Arizona. How do we grow this program? What do we add? Of course, following our statute and our rules that dictate certain things. So that's something that I'm engaged in right now, is really assessing. There are 36, I think, other states that have equipment programs. So I'm looking at that, and we'll be bringing forth information to you soon as to what I find. And again, how we're always looking at ACDHH, how we can improve the programs and services that we're providing to the public. So that's something I've been doing. Gosh, I've done a couple presentations as well, and one of them was the LGBT Healthcare Conference. I co-presented with Kim Menard, our deaf specialist at that. And then also the Hearing Healthcare Providers of Arizona, which is the Professional Association for Hearing Aid Dispensers. I had an opportunity to talk with them recently. That was a lot of fun. And great group of people there. A couple other things I wanted to mention. We already talked about Ballet Arizona. Another organization that I'm working with is the Scottsdale Center for the Arts, for the Performing Arts. And I had attended an event there, and there were some issues with their assistive listening device. So I reached out to them, and they're very receptive and wonderful group of folks. And they said, yeah, what do we do? How do we improve this system? So I've been in dialogue with them to give them a lot of information on what they can do, so that when we all go to a place like that, we have no issues with the assistive listening devices. So again, issue comes up, we reach out to our partners, and we're just so great. It's just so great that they're open and receptive to listening and learning and improving their access to all of us who, again, over 1 million Arizonans who are hard of hearing. So that was a really, really good positive thing. I think I probably mentioned before, but I'll mention it again, because Sky Harbor Airport, Terminal 3, we have a new concourse, or Terminal 4, there's a new concourse, the Southwest Concourse, and all 8 gates are looped. So that relates to looping, and any new construction at Sky Harbor will have gates that are looped. And so Sky Harbor Airport is owned by the city of Phoenix. The city of Phoenix right now has $500 million in bonds distributed across a wide range of projects. And so that's something that they're having bond hearings right now, and they're taking input. Now, if you live in Tucson like Cynthia, you think, well, what do I care about Phoenix? Well, if you ever come to the Valley and you attend something, you want to make sure that it's accessible, right? So the city of Phoenix bond, $500 million in bonds. Some of them are going to be used for arts and culture. And that's an area where we can advocate as consumers. You can go to the phoenix.gov website. They have a really great interactive tool there where you can share your thoughts about how the bond should be used. So again, you can advocate for access, loops, captioning, etc. Obviously, some of the bonds will be used for streets and things like that. But I just want to make sure that you're aware that the city of Phoenix is looking for your input into how they should spend that $500 million in bonds that they'll be issuing. And what else do I have? Oh, last but not least, again, I thank Barry Forrest, because Barry Forrest came to us years ago and said, I love to go to the Arizona Republic storyteller events, and captioning would be awesome. And so we got in there with the Arizona Republic and said, how can we help? And we started sponsoring the captioning at those events. And storytelling is, well, I'm an anthropology minor, so stories are how we always convey our information to each other throughout history. So storytelling is so wonderful. And the storytelling events that the Arizona Republic Storytellers Project has are great events. 300, 400, 500 people attend them. Barry is one of the people who attends them. And so we're so happy to be partnering with them to sponsor captioning at some of their events again this year. I know they just had one a week ago, I think, and they had 400 people come. So that's 400 people who get to see captioning. People who may not use it right now, but might know somebody who could. Or I remember one time I went to a conference and I had a CART captioner with me who went workshop to workshop. And I had a couple folks who had hearing loss, and they said, "What is that? Where are you going next? I'm following you." So when we advocate for and provide and get captioning and looping and assistive listening devices, we improve it not just for ourselves, but for everybody else in our community. So I will end my speech there because we have a lot more to talk about. But any questions for me before we move on to the next agenda item?
Thank you so much, Michelle. I wondered if it's just a few minutes after 10. Would this be a good spot to take a 5-minute break? I think maybe 5 minutes would be good for this morning. So what I'm going to do is it's 10:03, so I'll let everyone turn off their camera and I'll see you back at 10:08. See you in 5 minutes. Just take a little break. Just wait a few more minutes or another minute for everyone to pop back on. And just- okay. Well, next up on the agenda, we do have, oh, Michelle, don't wait.
I'm hearing an echo again, Christy.
Oh, okay. Are you hearing an echo from me?
I think it went away.
Did it go away?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, well, welcome back, everyone.
No.
Oh. We good to go? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. No. Are we ready now, Michelle? I'm just watching for, is there anything? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, well, welcome back, everyone. And just wanted to go to the next agenda item. Are you hearing me clearly, Michelle, without an echo?
So sometimes I'm hearing an echo and sometimes I'm not. I don't know what changed, but let's just see what we can
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have our.
Now.
No?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. The next on the agenda, we have our Hearing Loss Association of America. We have our two wonderful oh, Michelle has her hand up. Michelle?
Yeah, actually, next on the agenda, Christy, is agenda item 7, over-the-counter hearing aids.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My mistake. I'm sorry about that. And I definitely don't want to miss over that agenda item. Let me just go right to that. Over-the-counter hearing aids. Michelle, I'll turn it over to you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I wanted just to open this up to everybody. I know that it's a hot topic. So I wanted to put it on the agenda in case anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, about the issue of over-the-counter hearing aids, which will be coming out soon onto the marketplace. So anyone, any comments, questions?
Fred?
Michelle, I really hate to ask. Can you very quickly summarize the impact of the over-the-counter hearing aids in a way that we can explain it to our people? I know that, some of all the rules changes and everything, and it's now more open. You can go buy them and things like that. Could just give us a quick summary?
Yeah, I've been working on that, Fred. The rules that were released were 200 pages. The actual rules were about 50 pages of that, but there's a lot of comments and rationale from the FDA as to why they decided on what they decided. So it's really difficult. In fact, even the major organizations like the Academies of Doctors of Audiology, ASHA, audiologists, they're all looking at this and trying to figure out what it all means, as well as, the state's attorney generals and things like that. So there is no way for me to really sum up all of those rules, except to say that there is a new category of hearing devices that will be allowed to be sold in 2 months. and they will be called over-the-counter hearing aids, these hearing devices. I think that there are devices that are on the market now that will simply be rebranded as hearing aids. I think that there will be new devices that come out that will be called over-the-counter hearing aids. These over-the-counter hearing aids very clearly are only for people who are 18 years and older. They are not ever to be purchased or used for anyone under the age of 18. They are only for a mild to moderate hearing loss, and that is a perceived mild to moderate hearing loss, which means the person themselves perceives, they don't know for sure, they perceive that they have a mild to moderate hearing loss. Again, people don't know what they don't know. And without someone looking in their ear, a doctor, a nurse, anybody who is trained to use an otoscope, which is the device that doctors and nurses, audiologists use to look in your ears. And by looking in your ears, I mean looking in your ear canal. Without somebody first looking in the ear canal to make sure that it's clear of wax or any other type of debris, and to make sure the tympanic membrane, is your eardrum, looks okay, doesn't have a perforation or scar tissue, that it isn't bulging and red or pink or oozing. Without somebody to do that, and then if somebody does do that, without an actual hearing test, people are still going to be guessing at whether or not they really have a hearing loss that will be able to be assisted by an over-the-counter device. So we hope that people will take advantage of going to a healthcare provider to at least get somebody to look in their ear canals. So, but that is not required. The laws do not require that to happen. So, aka these are non-prescriptive devices. And so I do think that there will be licensed dispensers and audiologists who will sell some of these devices. In fact, I know that there are devices that are being sold now by licensed professionals that aren't called hearing aids, but will be rebranded as hearing aids. So there's, but you know, your basic guidelines are mild to moderate hearing loss, 18 years and older, sold over the counter, online, at your big box stores, at your, you know, Best Buy, your Walgreens, those kinds of places will all be selling these devices direct to consumers. And so we all have our work cut out to educate folks about these devices and help them make informed decisions, both as somebody who's spending money on a device, but also how that relates to hearing healthcare. So Fred, as I get more information, I will certainly share that with you. Thanks so much for asking. Ron? You want to unmute yourself, Ron?
Roz is having problems getting back on. She's getting an error that says, cannot start your video because the host has stopped it. And she really wanted to participate in this section.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Ricky is the host. So if Ricky can enable Roz's camera.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for Ricky to get Roz's camera on here, Cynthia, go ahead, please. And you'll need to unmute.
Cynthia, we're not able to hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, I just said that I did not leave the meeting after the break. It left me. The meeting left me. I was left without a Zoom meeting. So I don't know, because normally I would just press the red button and leave if I were leaving, but this one left me.
I'm sorry.
Roz is back.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Roz, Barry, whoever wants to jump in next.
I just have a question. How is the ASU program for people that are poor and can't afford hearing aids? Will that come into the OTC program? I mean, it concerns me for obvious reasons.
Right. So great question, Roz. No, we have a contract and agreement with ASU. And so that agreement specifies that these are actual hearing aids and not over-the-counter devices. So we will not be fitting people with over-the-counter hearing aids through our project with ASU.
Will you be referring people to over-the-counter hearing aids? That's my question.
ACDHH provides information and resources to consumers without bias. So
no, I understand that, but
yeah.
if somebody comes to you or Christy
Right.
for this ASU program, and they, have whatever, and they fit the criteria for either a hearing aid or over the counter, will you suggest over the counter?
So ACDHH staff are not licensed hearing healthcare providers, so we do not suggest particular devices. We would defer to ASU audiology professors to make the best determination on what that patient needs.
Okay, because obviously my concerns are that people's ears need to be looked in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We totally agree on best practices. We do want consumers to understand that hearing is a healthcare issue. Hearing is correlated with dementia. It is correlated with falls, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, isolation, withdrawal, depression when it's not treated. When it's not treated, like all of us are treating our hearing loss. We are all engaged advocates and involved in the community. But unfortunately, when people don't do anything about their hearing loss, we see those kinds of things happen as healthcare issues arise. So yes, we absolutely want to at least get your ears looked into. Yes.
What concerns me, obviously, is that people get over-the-counter hearing aids, and for whatever reason, they're not programmed specifically for their loss, and they won't get the help that they were hoping to get, and they'll just throw up their arms and say, well, hearing aids aren't for me.
Yeah, I absolutely understand what you're saying. We hope that people, if they do purchase over-the-counter hearing aids, if that device is not helpful to them, that they won't just think hearing aids don't work. Right. Because as we all know, hearing aids, cochlear implants, things like that do work when they are professionally fitted and adjusted to our specific loss per frequency. So we're going to be sharing best practices and our success stories. So definitely. Thank you so much, Roz. Yeah, we've got Ron, we've got Barry, we've got Melanie, whoever could get their mic open first.
I knew this was going to be a good subject. just a couple things I'd like to say. HLAA has published a lot of information on this. I haven't got through it yet. I've been really busy these last 3 days. Barry and I were out talking with a franchise owner of a very large franchise here in Arizona. And I posed him the question. Just listen to this and listen to his reply. I posed the question, what happens if an individual buys over-the-counter hearing aids and then he can't get them to work and he comes to your office and asks, can you make these work? His reply was very diplomatic. And he said, we have to be very careful here. And because if they don't work and we try to assist him, we then can become part of a problem and may result in a lawsuit. He said, we would be more than happy to fit him after a hearing test with a set of hearing aids from his shop. They are not going to touch over-the-counter hearing aids. Very interesting.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about the same subject. And I don't know a reason, unless you don't want me to mention the name of the company, but I think I was going to mention them because they're such a prominent player in our state. We met with Rob Hickman. I'm going to mention his name. He is the owner of 23 Miracle Air franchises in the state. And his perspective, as Ron has already mentioned, is he mentioned, you know, over-the-counter hearing aids, if I'm repeating sort of what he said, he didn't think it would dramatically affect Miracle Air initially, but they could see some drop in the business, maybe in the 23 facilities that they have. And he did say, as Ron mentioned, they wouldn't turn people away that walked in. He anticipates that people will encounter the problems that we've already mentioned. No programming and no testing, and they put them in their ears and try to figure out. And he thinks people will actually walk into Miracle Air and ask for assistance. And he basically said they wouldn't turn him away. But as Ron mentioned, there might be some legal ramifications to them. But he's been, he's a very knowledgeable person. And he said that long term, I felt that this actually might help their business because people will realize that hopefully they don't give up and throw them in a drawer and say hearing aids don't work. But long range, it'll give more exposure to people that have a hearing loss and actually want a device that'll work and be custom made for them and be able to program, and they would hear better. So I think he had kind of a unique perspective on it, and he did not say that they don't think it'll affect their business long term. There was one other thing that happened, and this isn't totally relevant, but exactly. But some of us own some stock in Advanced Bionics and Phonex. Their parent company is called Synovi. And Synovi is a major player, of course, in the hearing aid and the cochlear implant. And you can buy their stock on the New York Stock Exchange. And it's interesting that this week, when the over-the-counter hearing aids was announced, their stock dropped 25% that day and has continued to suffer a little bit of loss. So I guess the public that's investing in high quality professional hearing aids that require dispensers and audiologists think that this might hurt their business long term. So I thought that was interesting. It did they did publicize it. It got some press on Yahoo and some of the other financial outlets that Sonova dropped 25% the day this was announced. So it's hard to say that it would hurt their business long term, but the investment public, that's the way they reacted in one day when that was announced.
Thank you, Barry. I know that Becca wanted to say something, and then Roz also is wanting to say something. There we go. There's Becca.
Great. I just want to make sure I'm on the screen. The interpreter can see me. Okay, fantastic. This is a very interesting discussion. I'm kind of watching you all dialogue, and just from my perspective, some thoughts I'm having, and from my position and the position I have in my unit that I work for. You know, of course, we're an agency. We provide information referral. So with that kind of information, we have to share with the public. And of course, Michelle and Christy are our staff members who are the go-to for the people to share that information. But then I was thinking about the messaging. Of course, you know, there are pros and cons. We understand that. With everything, there's pros and cons. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on how do you, what are your feelings? What do you think are the steps that ACDHH should take? Like media campaign, or I don't know, or messaging, because you all have very valid concerns. You know, for some people, maybe the over-the-counter hearing aids would work. For people that was mentioned with a mild hearing loss, maybe it would be effective. I mean, who knows? I'm not saying that, but we don't know. So I'm not gonna say anything else about that part, but I'm just curious as to your thoughts. What should ACDHH steps should be? What actions should we take to address this? And again, just in a way to provide information.
Do you want me to go ahead and
Mel, is it
And
Melanie?
I'm just throwing that out there maybe to think about. We don't necessarily have to answer that right now.
Yeah, if Ron or Melanie, Barry or Fred, Cynthia or Roz, if you have any ideas on how ACDHH can tailor our messaging to consumers, again, to folks who really don't know much about hearing, we really want to help tailor that message correctly.
Michelle, do you know if, oh, I'm sorry, Melanie, is Melanie going to talk? Michelle, I just wanted to know if you were aware, does the FDA have any kind of caveat with the hearing aids, that the over-the-counter hearing aids are being sold? Do you know about things like, you know, that this isn't the be all and end all? If you're still having problems, you should have your hearing checked. Is there going to be that kind of messaging with it?
Yeah, there's a lot of information in the rules about labeling. Okay. For instance, the red flags, which you as a retired dispenser are very aware of. And as a mother of a child with hearing loss, you're totally aware of the needs of what a child needs and what an adult, your child as an adult needs. So we appreciate your perspective on all of this. But yeah, there is a lot of labeling instructions from the FDA about watching for red flags. And they do say, if it doesn't work for you, you know, seek other help. So we're really glad about that.
I would think that on the commission's website, there might be, you know, a folder or page, whatever you call it, on over-the-counter hearing aids. And you can have very specific, you know, this is who it's for, this is what we recommend. And if they don't work for you, don't give up. You know, that, you know, maybe get a second opinion from a professional. You know, maybe if you, I mean, I think that you should have something boldly put on the website, over-the-counter hearing aids, because if somebody is new to hearing loss and looking into getting some help, they might come to your website as a starting point, and that could give them some valuable information.
Yes, I agree. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Roz. This is Becca.
Becca.
I was just thanking Roz for her perspective.
Melanie, any comments, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was just thinking that of all the people that like contacted Christy, over 1,000 in the past year or two, or I may have the numbers off with the hearing aid program with ASU. There certainly were probably people that were sent to ASU that maybe had mild hearing loss, and so ASU was not able to fit them with hearing aids, or did they still fit them with hearing aids as mild, but they gave them the complete evaluation and did look in their ears. I guess what I'm kind of driving at is if there would be some way to if there was a professional to be able, like a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant, to check their ears, check the ears before they would be going with a device. Does Miracle Ears, if you go there, do they do a look with the ears, or does anyone know, or Roz?
Yes. Thank you, Melanie. As a person
I worked at Miracle Ear for about 6 years. That's where I started. And yeah, we did complete evaluations, looked in ears, testing. But you have to do that before you fit somebody with a hearing aid.
Mm-hmm.
And alert them to things like your T-coil when that came out, I remember.
Yeah. So would someone still be able to go to Miracle Ears to get like that part of the evaluation, and then they could say, I'm going to think about what device I want?
That happened often. What we do, and this would depend on the franchise owner, because Miracle Ear is obviously, there's some that are corporately owned, but many are franchise owned. And the franchise owner that I worked for, if we tested somebody's hearing and went through the whole thing, and then they left and wanted to think about it, my boss would not let us give them their test that they wanted to take with them, because his fear was they would take the test to another audiologist and try to get fit by hearing aids. Now, I think by law, the test does belong to the consumer, but he would make us hold it for a month before we released it. And that was just his call.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did thorough exams though.
Yeah, thank you for that background information, Roz. And Melanie, thank you for your perspective as a person who has had a progressive hearing loss and uses cochlear implants now, and as a retired speech language pathologist. Each one of you on the Hard of Hearing Task Force plays a key role in helping to inform and direct what ACDHH does with the hard of hearing folks in our community. And to your question, Melanie, about when we refer somebody to ASU, if they have a mild hearing loss, what happens then? And I was very fortunate to be able to work with ASU in the past year to help them receive a substantial grant for use that they can use to help with those cases where perhaps ACDHH is not able to assist. So they could, in fact, use some of their grant money to fit somebody who might not fit within the criteria that we're using for our clients. So ASU does have some additional funding now to help folks in other ways. So that's a win-win situation there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Roz, please.
I just wanted to address that also. When somebody is tested and they have a mild loss or any kind of loss, that's only part of the information that as a dispenser we would get. I mean, it's very important how this loss, whether it be severe or mild, affects their life. And someone could have a mild loss, yet it really impacts their life. Someone can have a moderate to severe loss and they handle it so well that they do better than somebody with a mild loss. So the information that we get from the exam is only part of the information that we accumulate.
Very, very good point, Roz. A person with a mild loss who also has auditory processing disorder, or has cognitive decline, or has misophonia, or hyperacusis, or tinnitus. All of those are elements that a professionally trained dispenser and audiologist are going to look at when they do that communication needs analysis with that patient. So those are things that we hope folks will be aware of as, yes, hearing is a healthcare issue, and really get the experience of a licensed person who can help you with those. If you, for some reason, you buy a device over the counter and it just isn't working well, do reach out to a licensed professional to help you further. So I think there are some pros that are going to happen. Raising awareness of the issue, right? That's a great positive. We love having the press out there talking about hearing as a healthcare issue. So let's keep that going. Keep that in the speech that's happening out there. Hearing is a healthcare issue, and more access to hearing healthcare is a good thing. So we just want to make sure people are informed and make some good decisions for themselves.
Michelle, and Christy, as this comes out to the public, the OTC, and I'm sure that the commission is going to be on top of it. And I know that you have a representative on the board that's a hearing aid dispenser, but if you want some additional input, I'm glad to help.
Thank you, Roz. Yeah, and I definitely, we will be reaching out and running some messaging by you all just to get your input. Becca in the public policy unit is, their unit is responsible for our kind of public messaging, things like that. So we'll definitely get your perspective because it's really, really important. I think together we all really make each other stronger and help the consumers out there understand what we're talking about. So thank you so much for that offer, Roz.
Welcome.
Any other comments on this agenda item before we move on to other things? Yes, Melanie, please.
Yes, I also just wanted to share that a couple of nights ago, I did hear on NPR and talk about awareness. Judy Woodruff, the NewsHour gal, mentioned, that over-the-counter hearing aids were coming out, and it gave a very positive exposure. And I think, here, and then I did hear it on a couple of other news programs, and it was very positive. And I think, again, that's an awareness that we didn't have before, and that's a good thing. It's just that we have to get people to understand how to follow through. And that's not just in hearing aids, as I could share with you about healthcare all over.
Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate that.
All right. That's a great topic, and I'm sure that we're going to be keeping this on the agenda for some time, and we can just so much that we can talk about and figure out together. So thank you so much for your great input for that item. And I know I'm just looking at the clock, and we have just a little bit more than 15 minutes left. So I would love to give everybody a few moments. I know next we have the HLAA, or Hearing Loss Association of America, chapter leadership announcements. So Melanie, would you like to go first for a few moments and share any highlights?
Okay, we actually have been very busy during this time of COVID when we have not been meeting in person. So I would just like to mention once again that the West Valley does have a website, and we are so excited to have you take a look at it and share information. It is www.hlalawestvalleyaz.org. And we want to thank especially our secretary, Shannon Tyree, who did most of the work. We all participated, but she really did most of the work. And then I wanted to share with you that the member Ron Moe, who is advocating for looping, is really passionate, as Michelle had mentioned, about this. And I also was at the meeting with Debbie Lesko's assistant. And I think just Michelle sharing numbers made this younger person very aware of hearing loss and hard of hearing people. And I think an important thing came out of that meeting for her. It seemed to me that the ADA does back this up, accessibility for people with hearing loss. So it's not just accessibility for people with physical disabilities, but we are looking at accessibility for people with hearing loss. And I think we need to kind of push that more and use that ADA to our benefit. And again, I just wanted to say the numbers that Christy is seeing for people with hearing loss and providing information, that was something that Michelle also shared with Debbie Lesko's aid. And the numbers are, when you hear them, it's just amazing. I wanted to tell you that during the summer, Fred Williams has continued with our book club. And so that is often it becomes our hope session too, where we share with information for our members and people that join. And if they read the chapters in the book, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. But we are going to be reading Sherry Ebert's and Gail Hanna's new book, which I just forgot the name of, but we're going to be talking about that this coming Monday. And then last but not least, we are working with our venue to start our October 11th meeting in person and on a hybrid situation. We're going to talk to their IT people and see how that's going to work. And I think that's it for the West Valley. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melanie. And Ron, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. I don't have a website.
Take a look at ours.
Problem solved. Our next meeting for Sun Lakes chapter will be October 13th. And we'll be back at the same venue that we have been in the past at the Sun Lakes United Methodist Church in Training Room 1. We're hoping to have a good crowd. At least we hope so. I will put something out, new flyer, and get all that stuff done. We don't have a guest speaker that day. I'm sorry, I'm mumbling here, but we don't have a guest speaker that day. So we're gonna do a little update on what the chapter's been doing for the last 2 years and 7 months. And we're also gonna have a couple of stars come by who are committed to acting. And we're gonna do some scenarios on the challenges that have been posed before hearing loss individuals through the pandemic. So I think we're going to make a little fun of ourselves in a very controlled environment. Now I'm going to break from that, and I hope anybody that is available would like to come out and join us. We'd like to have you come out. I want to break from that now, I don't know, because this is important to me. I went to the convention back in June, and I had a very good time. They had about 450 people there at the convention. As always, it's very, very, very informative, and I just had a great time. But I want to let everybody know that they took 3 years of awards and did them all in about 2, maybe 3 hours. And I want to let everybody know that Barry won the 2020 HLAA Spirit Award. And he was presented that award virtually. Barry did not attend. So one of our own here in the Valley of the Sun received an award. The next thing that most of you know is Deanna Baker. Deanna was in charge of all the cart being provided at every convention starting about 20 years ago. And she's the one that brought the first cart to HLAA at a San Diego convention. She is no longer doing this. She retired and she received the Rocky Stone Achievement Award. And it was really good to see that. She was very emotional, and but it was wonderful to see. So they also had a walk for her in there, a very, very small walk, about 250 people attended. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia with Aloha for your announcement. Cynthia?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christy. Let's see here. We have a meeting in September, a board meeting, and we plan on doing something similar to what Ron is doing in October, which is talking about the challenges we faced during the pandemic and also trying to get people focused on the financial aspect of board members contributing to the organization, because we've been a little slow on that. And so I have somebody backing me up who knows much more about that than I do. And I hope that that's going to work. We have a yard sale on October 15th at Aloha. And it's going to be a pretty big one because we've been collecting stuff for a few months. And also we plan to set up a looped table so that we can have people try out a loop while they come to the yard sale. Let's see what else. The ALDA convention. I'm still involved with ALDA as an international committee chair, but most of what I do is advising the people who are on the current board. And there have been several inquiries for this. I am planning on rooming. They put me with a woman from Nepal named Nita Keshari, whom I've actually met at the International Federation for Hard of Hearing people. And I'm very excited about this convention in San Diego, which would be very accessible to everybody to get there. 1 day's drive. It's at the 4 Points Sheraton, and it's October 19th through 23rd. And we hope, I had such a wonderful time at the Niagara Falls Convention this past year that I'm really looking forward to it. And ALDA is a welcoming group, and I hope that some of you may decide to come since it's so close by this time. Let's see what else. I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. I love the idea of having a loop at the yard sale. That's really great. What a great idea. And I'm going to let Ron take it away for a few moments to tell us any updates on the Walk for Hearing.
Hi, thank you, Cynthia. As everybody knows, the walk will be November 5th. Registration will open up at 8 o'clock. We have currently raised, and this just happened this morning, thanks to Sun Lakes and Miracle Ear, we've raised just over $6,000, and $4,000 of that is in sponsorship funds. So we're a little behind where we were at this time last year, but I think next week it's going to pick up some. Everything will be about the same. We'll have ice cream again out there. We're going to have a bounce house for the kiddos. There'll be food out there for everyone. We have a face painter, a balloon maker. So we got a lot to do for the kiddos. And we will have several vendors, and thanks to the commission, they will be out there again this year also. So I hope everyone, if you haven't done so, Cynthia, please start building your teams and get them going now.
Yeah. Judy Esbit is in charge of that again this year, and I will email her right before I leave, which is in less than 2 days. I'm leaving for Europe. But I will send her an email again. Thank you. I need to.
All right, great. Thank you, Ron. I know I'm going to go on to the next agenda item, and we just have announcements and share information. And I also made a note because Fred mentioned any captioning, advocacy, and efforts. So Fred, is there any particular thing that you had in mind regarding that? You had kind of, that's another great topic for us, of course, with accessibility. But regarding captioning, advocacy, and any efforts that have been made.
You know, when I offered this idea, I should have thought ahead that you'd ask me to say something, and I hadn't thought ahead. But one thing I'd mention, a reason I brought it up to you, we're trying to go hybrid, and my wife Pat and I are working in 2 different venues. One is not a hearing loss group, but it's full of hearing loss people. And each one, as we go hybrid, has unique technical problems. For example, the church that Melanie and our group started with has been really terrific, but they use YouTube. And YouTube won't allow dialogue. And our people want to be able to ask questions and things. So we're working with Caption Pros and Jen Shook to figure out how to do that. We've also noticed as we come out of COVID and we go hybrid, everything in life is more expensive. So we're thinking about, it's another factor but the reason I brought it up, there seems to be a lot of caption efforts going on by a lot of people, and it's been very helpful. So that was our 2 cents worth.
I'm really glad that you brought it up, Fred. I think it's another great important point to have on our agenda. And Michelle, is there anything that you wanted to add as far as captioning and?
Yeah, great idea. I do think that one of the positives of the coronavirus, the pandemic, is that so many of us became acquainted with video conferencing, like we're on the Zoom platform today, and whether it's Microsoft Teams or GoToMeeting or whatever. And because of that, we either had captioning or we didn't. But when we didn't, we pushed for it and we advocated for it. And it was nationwide requesting captioning. And many of the platforms were able to implement automatic captioning, automatic speech recognition, which, depending upon the vendor that they're using and that vendor's algorithms, can be good or, kind of iffy. But it also depends on other things like background noise. Is the person close to the microphone, etc. But with the automatic speech recognition captioning available, and of course our wonderful CART captioners like Tracy today, people are more aware that captioning is important, that it's needed, that it's helpful, just like we're raising awareness of the assistive listening devices and looping, hearing aid technology, etc. So I think it's all good stuff that's happening and we're making progress. And I appreciate everybody's individual advocacy and of course the advocacy of our groups like ALDA, HLAA, Aloha, the local chapters of organizations, even AARP, the things that they're doing to try to move forward the issue about hearing loss in older adults. So I think we're looking at good things to come, and I appreciate everybody being here today and taking part in this conversation. So I'll turn it back over to Christy to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to share one more point on that. I know we're close to the hour. In all of our healthcare trainings, one of the things I do always bring up is, of course, CART is the gold standard for that. But when people have telemedicine appointments, so often even the automatic speech isn't an option to turn on. So people always are like, oh, I never thought of that before. So some of these larger places that are doing telemedicine. So it's just something that it's so great to talk about and to have on the agenda, captioning, because it's really the world's best kept secret, I feel, with CART and even having the automatic speech for brief exchanges. So important. So thanks for bringing that up, Fred. And I do want to wrap it up as it's 11 a.m. Thank you so much for your patience this morning as we work through some technical difficulties. Our next meeting is going to be on Zoom in November. We decided to go ahead and have it on Zoom again, and we will be having that November 18th. Michelle, do I have that correct? Friday, November 18th. So I will be sending out, the minutes again, and I'll let everybody know ahead of time. And we appreciate you and all that you do. And please reach out to us anytime with questions. All right, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And thank you to our interpreters and CART. Thank you so much for keeping us connected and giving us access.
Stay hydrated.
Bye-bye.
This is Ricky. I'm gonna wait a few minutes for YouTube to get all caught up and then I'll stop it, okay?